Position and size of character in illustrations is important. Don't put a nice big portrait of a male and a small passport-size photograph of a woman. That again will negatively impact what students learn, that the male is the stronger, the more dominant individual, while the woman has to stay small and subdued. Also, look at fields of politics, sports, science, literature, arts, and find the women that have contributed. We have a lot of our own Pakistani women in each of these areas that have contributed immensely, and so bring them in. We don't have to be dependent on the real world. We don't have to borrow female characters from elsewhere to bring them into our textbooks. We have our very own women of whom we should be extremely proud and include them in our textbooks so that our girls begin to benefit from the fact that, yes, there have been women in Pakistani society that have contributed, and they can contribute too in the future. We shall now move from education for all and equality among men and women and all that to environmental education. This is another problem or issue that faces education today. Because remember, all the environmental issues and problems have been created by our generation or previous generations. The young students sitting in our classrooms have had nothing to do with creating these problems and issues with the environment. However, they need to survive and they need to find the solutions to those issues in order for them to lead a better life. And therefore, environmental education comes to the forefront. The first conference on environmental education was held in 1977 in Tbilisi in the then USSR. Okay? And this was the first major conference of its kind on environmental education. And the objectives of the conference simply were to create environmental awareness. People were not even aware that they had contaminated and polluted the water, the soil, the land, the air, and other things. There is more than just these physical pollutions. There is visual pollution, there is noise pollution, there is light pollution, and we never talk about all these things. So simply creating in 1977 the target, the object was to create awareness that these environmental issues exist. To disseminate knowledge and skills, talk about how these problems came about, why these problems have come about, what skills will people need if we expect them to solve some of these problems or minimize the impact of some of these problems. So you need knowledge and skills to attack the environment. To initiate new behavioral approaches at individual or group levels towards the environment. The issue begins with self, the individual. What can I do, and then what can we do as a community? If the environment is to become better, safer, cleaner for our children and the next generations, there is something that we will need to do as individuals and as groups. To develop interdisciplinary view of environment as a dynamic system and to emphasize its complexity. Environment is not just science. It is science, it is history, it is geography, it is math, it is literature, it is the arts. All these things come in the environment, because if we keep polluting and contaminating the environment, we won't survive. None of these fields will survive. So understanding that the environment is an interdisciplinary field to deal with. To help in promotion of environmentally sound development program towards sustainable growth. We've contaminated, polluted, we need to stop. How do we reverse this process so that growth and progress become sustainable for future generations? to create an atmosphere of national, international understanding and global cooperation in areas of environmental priority. Obviously, the wind is not Pakistani or the air is not Indian. Things move. The waters move across oceans and seas. The air moves over various countries and mountains. And so one nation's pollution can be carried on to another nation. Therefore, countries need to come together and work cooperatively in areas of environmental priority.